Hello, check, check. What's up, folks? I'm back on. I was out sick yesterday. My deepest apologies. So while I was sick, I was busy making jewelry because, me and sitting still don't get along that well if you haven't figured that out. I can sit still in front of the camera because I have you here. I do see that I've got one like, but no one in the house yet. So I'm just going to run through my boring stuff. Like, please hit your like button. And what else? Make sure you're still subscribed. If you are subscribed, if you're not, please consider just hitting that button because it helps your girl a lot. Share a video of mine with somebody that you think will like it. And also maybe to like a social media platform. If I don't know, is Facebook still around? Something like that. Turn on your notification bell to ring a ding ding. And let's just jump right into, let me give you a thumbnail sketch of the things that I want to talk about today. Taco Tuesday. I'm sure everybody knows by now we're going to be doing Taco Tuesday all week long. 20, what is it? 24/7, 365. Yeah. Taco Tuesday, 24/7, 365. Are you in? I mean, burritos are good too, but I'm sure everyone's heard by now. Not only about taco, Trump always chickens out. I know some people that watch my channel are not watching political channels, but that's been probably all over the news in the last 24 to 48 hours. And yesterday, he lost his crap when a reporter asked him what he thought of it. Absolutely lost his crap. That's a nasty question, fake news lady. Go away. Don't ever talk to me again. You owied my feelings. Very, very sad. Not, but I think we need to talk about something that no one has talked about. No one. I came up with it, I think, the day before yesterday, but then because I was out sick yesterday, even though I was so excited to share this with you, I was just not even doing well enough to sit here in a chair in front of a camera. And that's just terrible. What did I have? I had poison ivy, allergies, and some other crud, I think. It was bad. So I think I forgot to use a photograph on my thumbnail. I think it's just using like the generic one. Oh, dang it. Dang it all. Yeah, I knew I wouldn't be 100% yet with, I still have the poison ivy. It's not that bad of a case, but it is uncomfortable and distracting. Still have the allergies, also not as bad as it was. And that other crud, I think, is gone. I think it's gone. I was able to like go for a walk last night and do yoga. So I think I'm good. All right. So I want to talk about stealth. You guys know what stealth is. And our presidente of our country does not, I don't believe, understand what stealth actually is. And I'm thinking that the reason that none of us see Mrs. Trump there at his side or in the White House or anywhere else, I'm thinking it's just because she's like super stealth, that she's there, but you can't see her. Because if you remember, like the Bionic Woman and her bionic plane that was completely invisible, or like the Incredibles, I think it was Violet was the teenage girl that could like make herself completely stealth. Okay. If you're invisible, then yes, you could be very stealth. But being stealth doesn't mean that you're invisible, Donnie. It simply means that people can't see you. Not because you're invisible. Anna Bees, what's up? It's so nice to see you. I was feeling so lonely. And the cursor, it came back on yesterday. So excited when it came on that I almost went live just so I could use it. But like I said, I wasn't feeling like I could even sit in a chair without falling over. So I didn't use it and then it went away. So here I am back to my touch screen cray cray. So yeah, stealth Melania, the Melania bot, the stealth Melania bot. So like she's there, you just can't see her because of her stealthiness. So Anna B says, "Hi, Jazz and everyone. I was watching Karen Reed trial. Oh, good for you. I've not caught up with that in a few days. And yeah, it fascinates me, but there's just so much malarkey. I can't. I just can't. I'm glad your cursor works. No, it worked yesterday. I was sick yesterday. Um, so yeah, I have a really mild case of you can see it right here, maybe. Yeah, I think you can see a little bit of red. A super mild case of chicken pox because or chicken pox, what am I talking about? That other stuff, poison ivy. Because I garden and once in a while we get little poison ivy chicken pox growing out there and then I find it, and I'm usually really good because you can't even see it. That's good. Because I wear gloves and long sleeves and of course long pants. But I think I might have had short sleeves on one day, and I think my husband killed some of the poison ivy that I found, and then I waited a few days and then I weed whacked. I'm thinking that's how it happened. Because I know when I was weed whacking, I thought, I hope there's no little baby poison ivies that could get into the air, maybe to my eyes or my nose or anything like that. None of that happened, but I did get a couple of little dots on my arms. So I was wearing long sleeves the last few days because I had a lot of calamine lotion on. So when I was doing my videos, I had my long sleeves so you wouldn't see the calamine lotion. Not because I want to hide anything, but just because I didn't want to waste our time talking about it. And I always want to explain to you what's going on with me. So yeah, I think I'm all recovered from whatever crud I had. I am, riding with the allergies because this is just a really bad year. And I've had to do a lot of allergy meds, which I don't like doing. So I quit doing them. And then the allergies caught up with me. And then with the poison ivy, it's fine at the moment, but man, last night it was killing me. I didn't think I'd ever fall asleep. So I have my hydrocortisone cream handy. I have lidocaine cream to try to numb it when it's just totally going off the wall, even though it's only a tiny bit. And then I've also tried like tea tree oil, the calamine, did I say that right? And camphofenique. If you have any suggestions, Annabes, I would love your medical advice. Yes, I see it. Everyone is sick here, not me though. See, everybody in my house had been sick, and I usually skate through it because I think my yoga, I'm pretty sure that's why it just keeps my resistance up. And, I wash my hands probably 20 times a day. I try to use soap every time. I try to do all the basic stuff. I mean, it's not like I'm OCD washing my hands 20 times a day, but, I wash them every time I should wash them. And I'm one of those people that will wash my hands before I go to the bathroom as well as after. Not to TMI you, but it's only been more recently that medical researchers have spoken about that yeah, you should be washing your hands before you go to the bathroom, because let's say you have poison ivy on your hands and then you go to the bathroom and you don't wash your hands until afterwards. We don't even want to talk about that. But just any germs, that would be an easy way for germs to travel into your body is if you don't wash your hands prior to going to the bathroom. So I do both. Usually I wash them before I go to the bathroom. I wash them after I go to the bathroom. Anyway, I'm just trying to justify that. No, I'm not OCD. I know I might have some traits sometimes. I'm fully comfortable admitting that. But yeah, I wanted to talk about the Taco Tuesday 24/7, 365. I wanted to talk about Stealth Melania. And what about Stealth Elon? I'm very concerned for the man's safety. Not that I have any compassion for him whatsoever, but he is half human. I think he's half robot. I don't know. Maybe he's all robot. But I'm literally concerned for his safety. If you haven't heard yet, he's out. He's stolen Stephen Smith's wife, the scariest looking man on earth. All of those thugs in the White House, that goon squad, they're pretty scary looking. I mean, RFK Jr.'s a prime example. Freaking Elon's a prime example. Stephen Smith takes the game to a whole new level. I'm pretty sure he's in his 30s. Maybe he's 40, but he's not old. He's young. And he's gray and he's ugly. And in all honesty, I'm not even trying to be funny. He looks exactly like Squidward from SpongeBob. Am I right? And he's a nightmare. He's a monster. He's a complete Nazi. He's just gross, but somebody married him and had his baby. Oh, ugh. And then she has taken up with Elon. So I don't know if the stories are true about the cucking, and we don't want to go into definition of that. You can figure it out or Google it if you don't already know. But yeah, I think the real story that is solid and true is that Elon is taking her as like a business partner or something like that. That she's leaving the White House team with Elon to be his assistant or something. But we all know what he does with his assistants. I mean, look at the woman that had to sit next to him and watch him balance spoons and forks for hours on end at the Bedminster $1 million dinner. That poor lady. What, she's had like 3 of his kids. I think her name is Savan. She was his employee, and she's the one who like rocks back and forth and looks like she's in a cult. She looks like she's a Handmaid's character. I've been trying to watch little bits of that television show since I refer to Handmaid's Tale so often, and I haven't read the book for 35 years, and I haven't seen the movie in 35 years, but man, does it make an impression on you. And so I've tried to watch some of the television series that, I'm glad that it was so popular because I think we can all learn a lot from it, but I don't understand. I mean, it's good acting, it's good writing, it's good cinematography, it's good editing. I was going to say, I don't understand how people can watch it because it's so freaking awful. But I do understand how people can watch it, especially because I think most people that watch it, it's like the younger people that didn't read the book, that didn't see the movie, that back when that wave of heightened intellectualization and insight happened in the late 80s and early 90s. And Natasha Richardson starred in the movie. She played the main character, and she was like at the top of her game, and everybody loved her and loved that movie, even though it was a god awful story, a sick, sick story. So anyway, I'm talking about Handmaid's Tale because I'm talking about Elon, and I really do believe that there's a major Handmaid's Tale component to what's going on, not just with like Epstein stories, not just with Diddy stories, but in our government, and especially with Elon. I mean, he's already got a baby mama farm, a baby farm that we know of that, just has maybe a score or 2 of the children that we know of. But I'm just really getting suspicious that these billionaires with these underground compounds have like full blown Handmaid's Tale situations going on underground, like literally underground. When they say underground, they usually mean just that you don't see it. I'm sure you know this, Annabes, but a lot of us didn't. Like the Underground Railroad, a lot of people think the Underground Railroad is literally underground, and it ain't. It never was. It's on the down low, right? Let's get caught up with you. I wash my hands a lot too. I do wash my hands before and after. Good for you. I'm not kidding you. We are like sisters from another mother, huh? I always like to say the brothers from another mother, but we're brother sisters from another mother. Sisters from another blisters. I would say just put anything on that that dries it out. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I even used some Clinique clarifying lotion last night because I saw online that it said astringents are good. So yeah, I don't know if rubbing alcohol might be too much. Probably is. Like witch hazel is probably good. I heard that about Big E. Stephen Smith looks old. I know. Let's just Google real quick to see. Like he's probably at least 40, but he has a kind of a baby face. He looks like he might even be in his 30s. But man, he is so sick. And he grew up in Santa Monica, California. You know, I grew up a lot around Santa Monica. It's a very cool place. They don't raise Squidward Nazis there. I mean, how on earth did that happen? He went to Santa Monica High School. My sister went to Samo High. Lots of cool people went to Samo High. I could rattle off a whole list of them, but I won't. You know, just a lot of the famous people went to Samo High. Stephen Smith, there's two. We've got the Stephen Smith white guy, because that's a Stephen Smith black guy. White House. That's funny. It actually, the second one that comes up is Stephen Smith white guy, but Stephen Smith White House. Let's see. Tone deaf, it says. Running to Joe Rogan. That's what, 2 weeks ago. Oh, it's not pulling up things about his wife getting stolen, but I just want to find out how old he is. Come on, where's the wiki? Just give me the wiki. Here we go. No, dang it. Um. Okay. No, this can't be him. No, that's an actor. I was like the same age as me. What the heck is his name? Um, Stephen Smith. How will I find him? There's too many Stephen Smiths. Um, there's even a Stephen Kennedy Smith. That's not him, is it? What is his job in the White House? Like the secretary of wiping Donnie's booty? Um, he's like the right hand man. Stephen Smith. Uh, I'll just say wife stolen by Elon and see if it'll tell me which one he is. Stolen by Elon. Oh, did you know that Elon's middle name is Reeve? Elon Reeve Musk. He is going down the tubes. Absolutely going down the tubes. Oh, man. Am I getting confused? His name is Stephen Smith, is it not? That weirdo that Elon Musk's wife has run off with? Stephen Miller. Stephen Miller. Okay, dang it. I'm glad I figured that part out. Sorry, you guys. Stephen. It's a good thing I started to question my account. I thought that I had his name down pat, but it's Stephen Miller, like the Steve Miller Band. 39 years old, born 1985. So yeah, I was right about his age. Katie Miller, his wife, they've only been married for 5 years. Yeah, it says right here, born August 23rd, 1985, Santa Monica, California. Went to Duke University. He's a Samo High graduate, Santa Monica High School, 2003. And he's got, it looks like a brother and a sister. And he's about Trump's height, 5'10", it says. I think it always exaggerates on Wikipedia, makes people taller than they actually are. But Musk takes Stephen Miller's wife as Trump aide, rage tweets. So I think that they only have one kid. No, 3 they had 3 kids in 5 years? Serious? That's crazy. That is insane. Um, how could they have 3 kids in 5 years? That's a lot. Their ages are not publicly available. They married in 2020. Okay. That's really scary. That means she had sex with him more than once. So baby number 3 was born a couple years ago. They married at the Trump Hotel in February 2020. Third child, second son, was born September of 2023. Let's see. I mean, babies are lovely, but that man, ooh, super gross that anybody would touch him with a 10-foot pole. You know, in case you don't know, this is, can you see it? There's so much glare. I'll get a good Squidward picture of him maybe for the thumbnail. And that's not a, that's just impossible to see. Anyway, I also was going to talk a little bit more about Carolyn Levitt and her fake marriage. Remember, I've told you guys about Pam Bondi's fake second, no, fake third, and maybe fake fourth marriage. So she never had a third marriage. And then the fourth one, I think, is probably not a marriage either. But she pretended that she got married to the third one. I don't know if she's like faked the fourth one or not. That's Pam Bondi. But Carolyn Levitt faked her marriage to the guy that's like 32 years older than her. She said that she married him in December of 2023. And then they had the baby July 10th. Did I say 2023? She said that she married him December 2023. They had the baby July 10th, 2024. 3 days later, she abruptly ended her maternity leave because Dear Donnie was pretending that he had an assassination attempt, in my opinion. In my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly that was completely fake. But even if it was real, what in the F is her abandoning her child gonna do for him in a situation like that? Give me a break. I think she was just running scared from motherhood, because motherhood is rough. It's very rough. And I'm sure that that job is more than 40 hours a week. But anyway, you know, when you're wealthy and you're married to a guy that you don't want to see, and, you know, you've got lots of help, hired help, then it's my opinion that she just made a decision to ditch the motherhood early on, 3 days in. 3 days in. If you have to do that because you have to, okay, but who on earth would do that? Anyway, it seems that the announcement of their marriage in December of 2023, roughly 7 months prior to this baby being born, was actually when they got engaged, Anna Bees. So they were definitely having premarital relations because they got engaged after she got preggers. Yes. Little Miss Goody Two Shoes, holier than thou, with the big old cross on the chest that's like burning her skin. She's so vile. So now, it used to say online that she got married in December of 2023. Now it says that she got engaged in December of 2023, and that they got married like this year in 2025. But they won't say when. Like, they're being all mysterious about it. Like, are they really married? Or are they just pretending to be married? Because he's like a billionaire. So maybe he didn't want to marry her without a prenup, and she wouldn't marry him with a prenup. So maybe they haven't tied the knot yet. I don't know. They won't say when they got married, but it suddenly changed online from being the fake date of when they got engaged to now being sometime this year, 2025. I think it might even say January of 2025, but it's not real specific. It mostly says they're keeping the date a secret. And why would you do that? Unless you're lying, right? Okay. So let me get caught up with you. Thanks for all your comments, my dear. Let me see. How come they're not? Yes, I know what that means, but I wish I didn't. Yeah, the cucking. I know. I didn't know until a couple of weeks ago. I looked it up because of the Diddy case, and I was like, I think I know what that means, but I better check to make sure. I never read the book or watched the show. Yeah, don't do it, Annabes. It's very painful. My kids don't understand why I watch all the crime videos. It's pretty popular, you know. A lot of people just won't admit that they do it, or they want to do it, but they don't because they're, it's maybe considered a guilty pleasure by some. I consider it education. I do. And it is entertaining. I have to admit that it is entertaining for sure, but it is extremely educational. And it's good to know the stories to educate yourself to know what to look out for, in my opinion. Um, and yeah, people don't understand. Like, they think you were watching crime because you like horror movies, but that's not what crime is about. Depending on what crime shows you watch, it's really about safety and about justice. It is the way I handle it. Witch hazel should be good, and the tea tree oil. Stephen Smith was probably unpopular. Yeah, I mean, he was doing his Nazi stuff in high school, and definitely unpopular because, in Malibu or Santa Monica, Southern California, people are hip and cool, and, a lot of people are really actually down to earth because they're just like hanging out at the beach, like being all natural without makeup, without all of the glitz and glamour that people associate with Hollywood and Southern California. And there is that too. I will definitely acknowledge that. When I lived there back in the late 70s and early 80s, no, it was all in the 70s, I think. Yeah. Um, no, it was early 80s too. I moved to Ohio in like 82 ish, I think. Yeah. Anywho, when I lived there, nobody had ever heard of Malibu, and it was really a down to earth place. It was where people went to escape from Hollywood, but then it was quickly gaining popularity, and it's, in my opinion, become a Hollywood by the sea. But there's still, people think of Southern California folks as being very superficial and self obsessive and, just like hyper focused on their bodies. And yeah, I'd say a lot of that is true to form, but some of the um, element of being very focused on your physique does keep you down to earth too, because you're going to be eating healthy and exercising. So I think a lot of folks in California are much less superficial than the stereotype. At least I was. No, I'm just kidding. I was actually really bad back then. I was just kind of typical little Malibu Barbie. I mean, I didn't do anyway. I'm getting off track. I was really into the beach. I was really into volleyball. I was really into having a perfect figure. I didn't really wear makeup. I was really into fashion. Oh man, was I into fashion. Like, I went to Malibu Park Junior High School and moved to Ohio before I went to Samo High. At Malibu Park Junior High School, it wasn't just me. it was a fashion show. Every day was a fashion show. And, a lot of those kids were extraordinarily wealthy. So they had outfits that I could not compete with. I was much more like the girl in Pretty in Pink, like thrift storing and, getting really creative. But I had a lot of flair and talent, and I liked to make my own clothes and remake stuff the way I do with the jewelry. Um, Anyway, like I said, I'm off track. Like, get me back on track. You know, crime, crime, crime. Justice, justice, justice. Russia, Russia, Russia. Marsha, Marsha, Marsha. I'm just so happy to be back on. I knew I'd be a little less than 100%, but I actually feel 100%, I think, at the moment. I'll say that and then I'll start slurring my speech. My kids don't understand. Witch Hazel should be good, and the tea tree. Stephen Smith, unpopular. High school too, LOL. He probably had his bio scrubbed from the internet. Yeah, I've seen video footage of him recently from high school, and he is just disgusting. He was really into Hitler and all the horrible stuff that he's still into. Like, he's hardcore. He's keeping it real. Oh, I was thinking it was Stephen Smith too. Stephen Smith is a sports broadcaster. That's why I was agreeing with you. LOL. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Stephen Miller, right? Quit crossing those wires. Oh, can't see it good. Yes, you said 2023. Yeah, for the marriage in December of 2023 for Caroline Levitt and her 60-year-old husband. She's 27 now. And I'm pretty sure he's already 60. If he's not, he's about to turn 60. And that's just gross. Like, I'm getting close to 60, and my oldest kid is like not much younger than Caroline Levitt. And that would be like me dating somebody my oldest kid's age. So gross. Actually, it would be almost the exact same. They say there's 32 years of an age difference between the two, and no, there's more like a 33-year age difference, because me and my daughter have a 34-year age difference, and I'm 57 and she's 23. So Caroline Levitt is 27. That means her husband either is 60 or almost 60. Anyway, numbers are hard. Math is hard, especially when you're on camera. Let's see. Never watch her on TV. I try not to because she makes me so sick. Yes, I know many people from Cali, and they are all good people. I hate how people criticize a whole state. Yeah, it's easy to do. And a lot of it, I think, is jealousy because, California is a fun place. It's beautiful. Oh, man. And the landscape, I mean, the natural beauty there is unbelievable. But the reputation for the state doesn't focus on the natural beauty. The reputation for the state focuses on, like, Hollywood and scandal and drugs. I mean, you got all that Hollywood scandal and drugs everywhere. I don't want to marry anyone 60. LOL, I'm just kidding. Right, because you're about the same age. Cali is a beautiful state, isn't it? I know sometimes I miss it, but it's way too overpopulated for me. The last time I lived there was for graduate school in the 90s, like mid 90s. And man, it was so overpopulated. And I lived in San Francisco, so that's very, very different than Southern California. And I love California. I'm a sucker for California. But they don't have enough water. They got too many people. And they just got lots of problems. Lots and lots of problems because it's such a beautiful state. It's so overcrowded. It's absolutely insane. And you can't have a population without water. That's ridiculous. Like, I think a lot of people got wise to that, and then they all invaded Washington State. They literally all invaded Seattle during the time that I was living in San Francisco. So when my husband and I left San Francisco after I got my degree, we thought we were going to stay because we loved it. But then we're like, we really want to buy a house and have children. And San Francisco is not a place where anybody that's not a techie can afford to do that. So we moved back to Seattle area, and lo and behold, during like the 3 years that we were gone, everybody moved up to the Seattle area from California. Like a lot of Southern California folks sold their houses, and then in Seattle they could buy waterfront, and then they could still have money left over to buy another house. Seriously. And a lot of people did that. And so by the time we got back up to Seattle, the prices were soaring and it was getting really crowded and it wasn't as laid back as it had been. So then we moved to Ohio 16 years ago after buying a house in the Seattle area, having our children, and then we moved to Ohio to raise the kids here. And I'm so glad we did. I've never regretted it, ever. Okay, so what else? The other things I want to talk about, I wanted to talk more about Derek Chauvin, because I really think that pardon is coming soon. I hope that I'm wrong. And I'll tell you my fears of what I think could happen with it. But yesterday, Trump pardoned a guy who was like one of the biggest gangsters in the 70s from Chicago. He's been in prison for like 50 years. He got pardoned yesterday, so he'll be getting released soon. He was sentenced to like 60 years and he's served 50, so he's been in prison since the 70s. And he gets to run around free soon, allegedly. Let's see. So yeah, when I did my last live the day before yesterday, you were here, Anna Bees, and Becky came in and just made one comment. And I don't know if Becky was a bot or like it's ironic or not ironic. It's poetic that her handle is Becky because she was being a complete Becky. And let's just say that George Floyd had a brain tumor and, had swallowed so many drugs that he was going to overdose in a few hours from that. It still wouldn't give anybody the right to choke him out and kill him at that moment. Like, hello. That was so gross when she came in to the chat trying to say that. Like, it could have been a bot that just got triggered by the names or the photo in the thumbnail, or she could be somebody that really believes in that stuff. But no, I think that sure there are people that believe that, but whatever. I thought I handled her well, and I appreciate you being here to have witnessed that, because I don't want to be rude to people. I don't want people to be scared to come into my chat if they don't know me as well as you know me. I mean, so many of the folks that do come in are the regulars, so I would think people that aren't regulars might be shy, especially since I read a lot of your comments out loud, and some people probably are shy about that, which is fine. Then just don't comment, or you can type in there, please don't read my comment out loud. Like the other 4 people that haven't commented yet. Hi, everybody. Sending you love and light, even though it's not the end of the show. Hopefully I can stay on for a while. I've already been on for 40 minutes. Let me try to get more focused. So I'm not just yakking, but I love yakking with you, and especially Anna Bees and I, we can just yak forever, right? But yeah, I want it to be more focused and meaningful, because that's why I come on, isn't just to chat, not just to be a chatty Cathy or a Karen or a Becky. None of that. I was in Cali in 1982 and they asked me if we lived in teepees in Arizona. Oh, isn't that cute? Yeah, when I moved from California to Ohio in 82, everybody in Ohio was like, why would you move here from there? Like, nobody does that. People move from Ohio to California. And I was just like, I'd break out in tears, and I'd be like, well, God hates me because I didn't want to move here anyway. I mean, I'm not kidding. I literally broke out in tears every day because I thought my life had come to an end. And I would even say that to people. I'd be like, I hate it here. There's nothing but cows and corn, and I just miss the beach and the waves, the volleyball, and the hot tan dudes, and the surfers. I'd never surfed, but I was way into boogie boarding. But man, I was like a volleyball addict. I was seriously into volleyball and jogging and doing everything under the sun. Jane Fonda workout, to stay as trim as can be, because any extra ounce on my body was just not welcome. I was anorexic at one point, so I don't miss that at all. Not at all. Very uncomfortable. A lot of girls in Southern California are brainwashed to be anorexic. And now it's everywhere. It's not just California. That's kind of everywhere. Let's see. I was like, really? LOL. I said, people live in houses all over the US. Cali is not the only civilized state. No, but when you're from Southern California, like I was at that point, even though I bounced back and forth from DC to California, DC was nothing back then. Like, it wasn't even a thought to people in California. And now it's all hip and cool. Politics got hip and cool. But the only other place in our country that mattered was New York City. So Manhattan, Southern California, and maybe Miami, maybe, question mark. But nowhere else in the entire country mattered. And then the only other place in the world that mattered was like Europe. And that was really the mentality. It was nuts. It was just like this laser focus, this tunnel vision. And a lot of people are still like that. Like, they'll only consider living in New York City or California and Southern California, nowhere else. Okay, go ahead, be overpopulated, no sweat off my back. And I like to tell people there's nothing to see here in Ohio anyway. So yeah, it's just stupid. Iowa, Ohio, it's all the same. Idaho, one of those O states. Nothing here. Because a lot of people like it, but I try not to say anything about that. I don't want to advertise. Okay. Yeah, when I moved back here 16 years ago, I missed the cows and the cornfields, and I especially missed like the covered bridges and the red barns, and I literally even missed the farm equipment driving down the roads, inconveniencing my tight schedule. Okay, I'm focusing. Remember. And people thought that folks in Alaska live in igloos. Yes, Derek Chauvin was wrong. He red roamed George Floyd. Anna Bees, I watched the videos of it in the last 48 hours. Again, I hadn't watched them in years. And it's even worse watching it now, because back then, you kind of developed a thick skin around it because it was going on. And then, we just had the 5-year anniversary. And then a lot of the videotapes that other people made are now available online. So it's not just the one where you can only see Derek Chauvin pinning him down. There were 3 people pinning him down the whole time. And imagine if Derek Chauvin was back just a little bit further so that you couldn't see him, if he was like behind the tire, if George Floyd was down a little bit lower. Thank goodness he was 6'5", because they probably were trying to hide him behind the car, but then he was so tall that his head was sticking out, and then people noticed. Because if he was behind the tire, Derek and George Floyd, nobody would have noticed what was going on. And it would have just been like, unfortunately, I think that kind of thing happens way too often. Yes, I can yak all day long, LOL. Mrs. Amir, girlfriend, everyone, sorry I'm late today. You are right on time. OMG, used to do Jane Fonda too. Oh, I know. So now the yoga routine that I do every day, Anna Bees, sometimes I remind myself of Jane Fonda. I hate to admit that, because the Jane Fonda workout was not yoga. It was a good workout. and it was only 45 minutes long, and you got severe results from it. Like, that was a pretty hot ticket. But my yoga routine is a half hour longer than that. And I think the only thing in it that is really reminiscent of Jane Fonda is doing the boat shape, like a V, where you're on your butt with your hands behind you and your legs in the air so that you're shaped like a V, and then putting your arms out straight. That's hard on your I was going to say glutes, but that's wrong. Hard on your abs. And then scissoring your legs and then going up and down, slowly. So I do that for a minute or two in my yoga routine, and I'm getting really good results from it, but it is evil. I call it the evil part of the routine. And it reminds me of the Jane Fonda workout. I had an eating disorder too when I was young. I'm overweight now. I'm trying to change that too. Oh, the V is very hard to do. It is, but when you're doing the V, if you start to scissor your legs and raise them up and down, even though that's hard too, it's not as hard as just staying in the V. And I can't remember with the Jane Fonda. I think she made you stay in the V for a little longer than is desirable, because I just like get in the V for a second and then I'm do the leg thingy. It makes it a ton easier. But anyway, what else? I'm gonna go back and make sure I do say all the things that I want to say about these things. So this is new to me. Some of the notes that I took from some of the videos I've watched the last couple of days. Did you know that everything that the president of the United States says is transcribed? Makes sense. And those transcriptions are available to the public with a public records request. Makes sense. However, apparently 95% of the transcripts of Donnie are 86th. I wonder why. Is it because he's so smart and he's saying so many brilliant things that it wouldn't do you any good to read them anyway because you wouldn't understand it? Or is it because he speaks in fragments of sentences, repeats the same words many times, tells a lot of lies, and makes no sense? Is it A or is it B? Think. I thought that was hilarious. So they don't release 95% of the transcripts, allegedly, of the things that the Trumpster fire has fall out of his mouth. Man, fake news. I'm sure that's fake news. Nasty, nasty fake news. Okay. So the election fraud, Annabes, they're getting a lot further underway with solidifying their hard evidence, their scientific data, the Election Truth Alliance. So in my video from the day before yesterday, I put a couple of links in the description to some of their most recent shorter videos. And not a lot of channels are willing to talk about it or share their information. Election Truth Alliance has their own channel, but they only have maybe 20 or 30,000 subs. Jessica Denson will talk about them, and she has a lot of subs. Christopher Titus will talk about them, and he has a lot of subs. I'm trying to think who else talks about them. Unfortunately, Midas Touch will probably never talk about them because that was where they parted ways with Jessica Denson when she wanted to talk about not even election fraud, but just about Trump stir fire being not a viable candidate because of his insurrection history. And it says very clearly, oh, I'm so proud of myself, Anna Bees and Mrs. Amir. I read the Constitution for the first time in my life yesterday. It says very clearly in the 14th Amendment, plain and simple, and I've went in there and I've read parts of it, but I've never read the whole thing from front to back, start to finish. It's not that long. It's not that hard, even in today's climate where we all don't read as much as we once might have. Um, it's pretty short. It's way shorter than you would think. So there's like 27 amendments, I think. So the 14th one is where Jessica Denson, she had a spot on Midas Touch, and then they parted ways because she wanted to hit home that he should never have been a candidate to begin with after the insurrection, which is such a valid point. And why Midas Touch won't bend on that, I'd say screw them. For a while I just like canceled my membership or my subscription to them and to everything like them that wasn't going to touch that with a 10-foot pole, because I'm like, that's bullshit. And there's a lot of sexism in YouTube, and there's a lot of sexism in politics. And because Jessica Denson is a cute, pretty, small woman, if she was like a big burly dude, they probably would have entertained the idea of discussing that. And why wouldn't you discuss it? It's like completely legit. But then the whole thing with the election fraud, again, they won't touch it. I think because they don't want to be seen as conspiracy theorists. But I think that that's kind of stupid because, first of all, don't be afraid of somebody calling you names or, trying to embarrass you, because that's like having thin skin. And second of all, there's obviously election fraud. I mean, at this point, it's 1,000% apparent. And who knows if mainstream media will ever discuss it. But in the meantime, the Election Truth Alliance is doing phenomenal work, and they are getting some momentum with some YouTube channels that will discuss it. So I'm really proud to be one of those channels. And Hal Sparks, that's the one I couldn't think of. He's really big, and he talks about it a lot, I think, doesn't he? Anyway, I really like the Hal Sparks content. It took me a minute to get used to him too, just because he is a wild one. And I knew him from like Talk Soup and Lab Rats, and it was kind of hard to see him as this like radical, almost like a hippie kind of guy. But he's so sharp and he's so funny. And a lot of the way that I can segue into watching this hideous, boring political crap is through somebody like Hal Sparks or Christopher Titus, or, Daily Show with Jon Stewart or Jimmy Kimmel, Seth Meyers, Jimmy Fallon, these people that are just hilarious and they're well informed. So it makes it a lot less painful to learn these things. I mean, I have so much trouble putting my eyeballs on the Trumpster fire or Elon or Stephen Miller or Steve Bannon or Carolyn Levitt or Pam Bondi, Kash Patel. The list goes on and on. The Bonino, whatever that guy is with Kash Patel. What's his name? I can't think of it right now. The guy who's like the assistant to Kash Patel for the head of the FBI. Bongino. Is it Dan? Dan Bongino? I can't stand those freaks. Ooh, like, who's the vice president again? JD Vance? I can't stand their voices. I can't stand their faces. I can't stand their lies. But I want to pay attention to them because I want to stay informed. They do have positions of power. I think it's part of my feeling safe in this world is to know what the F is going on with these freaks. And so sometimes I'll just watch the dry stuff, I'll watch like the World News Tonight, things like that. But for the most part, I like to watch the funny stuff. And yeah, what is that one? Luke Beasley. He's getting more and more funny. He's like becoming a comedian. He's one of those youngsters that has mass following. But see, like if people like Luke Beasley, Adam Mockler, Midas Touch, Brian Cohen Tyler, I think is his name. Um, David Packman. I don't think any of them will ever talk about election fraud, but they should, in my opinion. And maybe they will. Maybe over time, especially if mainstream starts talking about it, then they probably will. Because I respect them all a lot. And even if there's times when I'm upset with a content creator, I'm still glad that they're doing their thing. And I'm glad that there's other people watching them because, they're speaking their truth. And that's all that matters. But yeah, when I get annoyed with a content creator and I unsub and I quit watching them, I find it humorous as time passes that if I go back and watch, maybe they've quit doing the thing that bothered me or it just doesn't bother me anymore. So, how fickle and finicky us people are, especially us chicks, right? Anna Bees and Mrs. Amir. BBBB, I'm not sure what that is. BBBB. Mrs. Amir says, total crap, always coming out of his mouth. Nothing great, he says, while trying to make everything great. Oh, it's always the biggest, the best, like nothing you've ever seen, bigger than ever, better than ever. No one's ever seen anything like it. And man, does that man repeat himself, and his limited vocabulary is frightening. Marjorie Taylor Greene might even be worse than him. She's hilarious. She's absolutely hilarious. And she takes herself so damn seriously. Give me a break. Nobody should take themselves so damn seriously. Come on. Have you ladies seen Macron get shoved by his wife? I have. His wife was his art teacher when he was in high school, right? Isn't that the woman that he's still married to? Didn't they start dating when he was in high school and she was his teacher? But in France, like, that's all fine and dandy. And when that happens here in the States, like Mary Kay Letourneau, you go to prison, girl. You don't mess with your high school students. I mean, men are allowed to, right? We'll just turn a blind eye, but no, not chicks. You're not a dude. You can't do those things that dudes do. I'm being sarcastic, of course. Absolutely shouldn't have been allowed to run for president. I have to watch comedy takes on the news. I know sometimes, like, I'm just like, I can't watch anymore. I can't watch anything with Trumpster Fire or Caroline Levitt. I just can't. And then I'll be watching my funny stuff and then they're on it and then I get sucked back in. So they are funny. I mean, little Caroline Levitt is such a biatch, man. And she's so defensive and she's always got her lips like this or she's smiling all phony. But man, she is mean. She will just come after you in your fake news. Mrs. Amir says, yeah, that is so creepy. He was 14 apparently when they first met. Sick. But did they hop in the sack when he was 14 or did they wait until he was at least 17? I hope 16, please. Fingers crossed. Sorry to hit my mic. Yeah. Yeah, so I think the fuzzy math is a really funny thing with Epstein and with Trumpster Fire and with a lot of these people. They really try to stretch the truth on people's ages. So when they say that somebody is 18, oh, we didn't get together until she was 18. That's Jay-Z and Beyonce. And then they try to say that they didn't even meet until she was 16. Okay, they met before she was 16, at least 15 at the bare minimum, probably more like 13, most likely, in my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly. But by the time she was 18, she was legal because he was a lot older than her. I'm talking about Jay-Z and Beyonce. And yeah, saying their names into the mic is going to trigger some major trolls. Dang it, Nancy. You're not that troll that got triggered, are you? I'm just kidding. Hi, Jazz Chat. I just heard Trump was going to look at the facts on the Diddy case. If he gets pardoned, I'm moving back to Germany. Well, yeah, Diddy probably will get pardoned, and I've thought that all along. And Trumpster Fire has to be very careful with these people because they have the dirt on him. They probably have it on videotape. So it's not just like their word against his word. Oh, yeah. Trump is shaking in his boots. So when you think about when Virginia Giuffre committed self-unaliving, that was 2 weeks before the Diddy trial started. Diddy and Epstein and Weinstein and Trumpster Fire, they all hung out together. They all hung out together. Together, like the whole gang. Age of consent is 15 for them. His parents only found out till he was 17. Mrs. Amir, you're talking about Macron. I'm glad you have this information. Yeah, and just so people know, I'm sure a lot of people do know that in our country, we think of 18 as being the age of consent, but in some states it's only 16. And in Texas it's only 14. I just found that out like last week. I was horrified. Horrified. In our country, the age of consent used to be like 3, and I'm not kidding you. Like, I learned this in history in high school in my Ohio classroom and just about died. Like, back when our country was first formed. I don't even think there was any such thing as consent. But it was actually in print, something about 3 years old. Like, it's so gross. It's so gross. I mean, of course, a lot of perps, that's glorious for a lot of disgusting perps. It's unreal. Dang it, Nancy, that is the most insane thing he could do. Well, he's got to keep an eye on it. I'm surprised that he's even talking about it, though. He should like keep it under his hat. But yeah, why doesn't he just pardon him before the trial's even over, right? And they tried to get like they tried to get the case dismissed the other day. They'll probably try that about 100 more times. 14, ridiculous. Yeah, Texas right now. Annabes, I'm gonna Google it to make sure I'm not speaking out of my arse, because I came across that information last week. Age of consent, Texas. Hold on to your seat. Are you ready? Oh, good. I'm glad. AI says it's 17, but see, sometimes AI is incorrect. What is the legal age of consent? So it says 17. And what is the lowest age of consent in the US? The lowest age of consent in the US is 16 years old, although some states have set it at 17 or 18. Specifically, 31 states have a 16-year-old age of consent. I did not know. I thought it was more like 31, it was 18. 7 states have the 17-year-old age of consent, and 12 states have an 18. And see, the problem with that is that then people think that, like, well, then 16 should be across the boards, right? Because it just depends on what state you're in. And then if you're in a state like let's say you're in Chicago, so you're in Illinois, but you can just like go over to Indiana if Indiana has a lower age of consent. So you're legal if your hotel room is in Indiana, but you're illegal if your hotel room is in Illinois. That's just gross. Is the age of consent 12 in Germany? It says age of consent in Germany is 14. Let's see. What state is the age of consent 14? Rhode Island and South Carolina. Tennessee is 13. This is according to AI, so it could be incorrect. Rhode Island and South Carolina. So if that's true, then looking at the Micah Miller case with J.P. Miller and her being 15 when she was his babysitter that he was diddling when he was married with 4 kids, that wouldn't even be illegal. I mean, it's still unethical, especially when he's the pastor at her church, and it's adultery. But that puts a different spin on it. And this is AI, so AI could be wrong, because a minute ago AI said that it was nowhere in the country was it that low. So like I said, AI is very inconsistent. We all know this, but I just want to underscore that when I'm reading things off of AI, I try to state that I'm reading it off of AI, so you can know to take it with a grain of salt and you know, do some other research if you're interested. So South Carolina and Rhode Island, good thing Rhode Island's so tiny. And then Tennessee, 13. Tennessee is way too close to Ohio for my comfort now, knowing that. Can you consent at 12 in Canada? OMG. Only with a 12 or 13-year-old, I think, or somebody close to the age. What's the age of consent in Russia? 16. I was afraid it was going to be a lot lower. But highest age of consent in the world is 21. Hong Kong. OMG. You don't even want to know what this says. This is AI. I'm just going to spill it. In Hong Kong, the age of consent for females receiving backdoor activity is 21. I should have done a trigger warning. Sorry. What was the age of consent in the 1700s? Age of consent for marriage was typically 12 for females and 14 for males in most European countries. Oh, French established age of consent of 11 years old, later increased it to 13 years old. In the US, each state determined its own laws, and the age of consent ranged from 10 to 12 years old. OMG. That was a long time ago. That was 150 years ago. Wow. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm getting all fascinated. This is why I try to put my phone down all the time, because I get sucked in. The question, it says, when was the age of consent 7? English common law existed in the British colonies of America and was adopted by Delaware and other states in 1776. In Delaware, the age of consent was 10 years old until 1871, when it was lowered to 7 years old. Vomit, vomit, vomit. This is why we have pedophiles. In my opinion, it's part of why we have pedophiles, because that mentality just doesn't change. Under the 1871 law, a man was given the death penalty for sex with a girl below the age of consent. Now that I can appreciate. Because yeah, I think that you should get the death penalty for violating a person sexually. I think SA should be death penalty. That's my opinion. I'm allowed to have an opinion. I know it's extreme, but there are countries that are like that. There are countries that consider a sexual assault to be worse than an actual red rum. And I kind of agree with that, depending. So what is the lowest age of consent in history? But see, this is so stupid, because this is AI, and it says in 1899, the age of consent in some American jurisdictions was 9 years old. It has ranged from 7 to 21 years, and at present, the range is from 11 to 18. So they're talking about America, and they're saying 11. Like I said, like artificial intelligence is very inconsistent within itself. Like sometimes even within a sentence, just like our president, or within a paragraph, it'll contradict itself. So you got to be really careful. Okay. Anyway, where was I? Did I want to highlight that one that we were talking about. Okay. Dang it, Nancy. That is the most insane thing he can do. 14, ridiculous. What the hell? 14 in Texas. Okay, I'm packing. Are you in Texas? Ew, I know. Trump just pardoned the Chrisleys. The Chrisleys are probably that reality show couple that didn't pay. I was going to say didn't pay millions of dollars in taxes, but they also defrauded some small banks for millions of dollars of loans. And the problem with pardoning people like that, and like the guy who stole all the Social Security withholding money from the nursing home employees, that disgusting bastard, it's like, make these people pay the money back. Like, I'm fine if you want to set them loose. I mean, they're not dangerous in the sense that they're not like physically harming people, but they are dangerous. But make them pay it back, because they're never going to learn. If you set them loose, they're just going to do it again. But that's the kind of thing he does too. I mean, that's the kind of thing that the freaking government is doing. Let's keep all the money from feeding the people of the world that are literally starving to death, and then let's spend all the money on a freaking parade because I'm turning 79. No, I mean, it's the military turning 250. Just so happens to be close to my birthday. I mean, what a freaking wingnut. Ugh. Yeah, pardoning the Chrisleys, pardoning that douchebag from the nursing home, and then the gangster guy from Chicago yesterday. And that's not a done deal, but it's underway. Gangster in Chicago pardoned. Because, yeah, I'd never heard of this guy. He was put in jail in the 70s. Is it this guy? Larry Hoover? Yeah, Larry Hoover. Ex-Chicago gang kingpin. This was yesterday's news. Commuted the sentence of Larry Hoover, as former Chicago gang leader serving a life sentence at a supermax prison in Colorado. I mean, it doesn't surprise me. These are the kinds of people that Trumpster Fire loves, just like he loves Putin. He loves these monsters. He is one of these monsters, in my opinion. And I don't think that half the country voted for him. I think that the ballots, the electronic ballots, were stuffed, basically. And I'm going to put links in the description to the videos from the Truth Alliance Network. Truth Alliance, Election Truth Alliance. Yeah, Election Truth Alliance. That's the channel that's doing all the research and circulating it. So what does this say? Is it not going to allow me to look at it unless I get a subscription? No, thank you. Anyway, I'll set that down. Have a great day, ladies. Got to sleep now. 10:05 p.m. on the other side of the pond. Most likely Utah, them damn Dang it, Nancy. I almost said morons. I'm sorry. Most likely Utah, them damn Mormons. LOL. And let me just say that I've had some dear friends that are Mormons, so who I respect through and through. But yeah, it does get really twisted really fast with the polygamy and the magic hat. And oh man. Backdoor activity, vomit, pardoning anyone who pays for it. Good night, Mrs. Amir. Sleep well. Yeah, yeah. The Ghislaine, will she get pardoned? She's been asking for one. She could blackmail him really bad, but then he could also have her Epsteined. It's my opinion that he had Epstein because allegedly Epstein was going to spill the beans in exchange for a plea agreement or a lower sentence, a lighter sentence or something like that. Allegedly. And when I say he, yeah, I'm talking about Donnie. Donnie was the president when that happened. Was it August 10th of 2019? Yeah. And then Hegseth got married August 19th. Wait, did Hegseth get married right after Epstein, or did he get married right after Ghislaine? I think he got married right after Epstein. I think Hegseth got married August 19th of 2019. But let me make sure. I don't like to be inaccurate. But I thought it was interesting that he got married also at a Trump golf course in Jersey, not Bedminster where Ivana's buried, not Bedminster where Elon plays with spoons and forks, but a different golf course. And it was let's see the date of the wedding. Will it tell me the exact date? It's so annoying. Yeah, 2019. So it was, I'm pretty sure it was August 9th. No, August 10th that Epstein offed himself. And then 9 days later that Hegseth had his wedding to his producer at Fox News that wasn't the baby already like 2 years old by then? Yeah, because the baby is probably like 8 now, I think. Yeah, they have a lot of kids between the two of them because she had 3 and he had 3, and they were both married and both of their families were young. So they were carrying on and making a baby like when they shouldn't have been. They should not have been. That's disgusting. And then what was it that happened right around the time that Ghislaine got sentenced? Ghislaine was sentenced in 2022, June 28th, I think. And then, yeah, and then 2 weeks later, let me sort this out in me brain. 2 weeks and 2 days later, Ivana tumbled herself down a flight of stairs fatally. 2 weeks and 2 days after Ghislaine was sentenced. So, and Jeffrey Epstein wasn't sentenced August 10th of 2019. That's the right date, but that was like when he was arrested, or he'd already been arrested and then some of the paperwork went through. I think some of the paperwork went through the day before on August 9th, and then August 10th, he was found deceased. Anyway, I just find it really interesting that Hegseth happened to get married close to the same time, because I've had this little theory in my brain that Hegseth and Epstein and Trump probably partied together with Diddy. And then the thing with Ghislaine and Ivana, Ghislaine has so much information on Donnie. Ivana had so much information on Donnie. Ivana claimed that he violated her in that most intimate sense when they were still technically married, but they were estranged. I think she put that in her book. She has publicly reversed that comment and said, well, that's not what I meant. I was speaking figuratively or something. But, when she fell down the flight of stairs July 14th of 2022, we all know this. It was the night before 3 depositions were scheduled to start on July 15th. Those depositions were going to last a week long. It was Don Sr., Don Jr., and Ivanka. And all of the depositions were for the fraud case. Weren't we just talking about fraud a second ago? The fraud case where Trumpster Fire was trying to defraud banks out of giant sums of money for loans by completely inflating the values of his properties. And those 3 depositions all got postponed indefinitely because of Ivana's bad luck, or whatever you want to call it. And that is the case that he has the 34 felonious convictions over. That is the case. And that is also the case that he was very fearful would prevent him from being a presidential candidate. So when that happened in 2022, it just, to me, it's so much like the kid who doesn't want to take the test at school and calls in a bomb threat. Like, it was the day before these 3 scary depositions were starting. They got postponed indefinitely because of the tragedy. And then, of course, they did get wrapped up eventually. He did get charged and convicted of the 34 felonies eventually. And he also got his buddies, in my opinion, to do him favors and to help him skate around the law, which is what he does. He skates around the law. And he's such a freaking Trumpster fire. It just makes me sick. Anyway, let me set down the phone so I quit fubbing my friends here. And yeah, like I just really think it all ties in together. I want to say too that in my suspicions of Hegseth with his wedding 9 days after Epstein being found not alive, I don't know if that wedding was already pre-planned or if it was like a celebration of the finding in the jail. I don't know. But that's just suspicion. That's just my suspicion. And in that suspicion is RFK Jr. I think that he was heavily involved with the young ladies, with the Lolita Express, with Epstein, with Trumpster Fire. And that was simply my suspicion. And I have since found that suspicion is grounded in truth. So RFK Jr. is all over the flight logs of Epstein. And when are we going to see those Epstein files anyway? Bongino and Patel. And they're both like, he did it to himself. Okay? We know this. And if you don't believe us, then you're just stupid. Dang it, Nancy. That's why I don't vote. I believe it's all a selection opposed to an election. A complete shit show. In my opinion, I mean, Biden, what was that thing? I can appreciate that, dang it, Nancy. I quit voting for like 10 solid years after the Gore Bush thing in Florida with the dangling chads. I just could not take another dangling chad. And then I started to vote again. I think it was around 2012. And even though I do think I agree with you, I do think that what you say there is accurate. And it's like, I guess I'll vote because, what's my option to not vote, which, then it just makes it easier for them to say, well, those people didn't vote. The people that opposed us didn't vote. Who believes Epstein's still alive, just like Gabby's piece of work? They're probably hanging out in Peru drinking. So yeah, Gabby's piece of work, Brian Laundrie, I think is 100% definitely absolutely alive. And I was just Googling the other day, like how to fake your own death and stuff like that. And it's really easy. It's really easy to Google it, and it's really easy to do. I think logistically, it's kind of simple to do. Psychologically, I don't think people realize how hard it's going to be. And yeah, you definitely need to have plastic surgery. You need to change your name. You need, one of the first things it says is you need to get like prepaid phones, like the burner phones. And isn't that exactly what we saw Roberta Laundrie doing in the days before it was discovered that he was missing, Brian Laundrie? I used to think that Epstein faked it, but I believe that he was taken out because he was too dangerous to too many people. Like, yes, he was a billionaire, and yes, he could definitely afford to fake it. However, there were enough people in positions of power, like the president, who were scared to death because he didn't do what he did just to get his rocks off. Of course, that was a huge component of it. But I think, just like with Diddy, that's a huge component of it. But maybe just as huge of a component, maybe bigger, is the blackmailing. They felt the need to have this leverage over these people so that they could blackmail them, so that they can own them, so that they could control the world. So that's what Epstein did. That's what Diddy did. I don't know, like Weinstein, I don't know if he was videotaping everything and blackmailing people. I have no idea. And like Larry, what was his name? Larry Nasser, the doctor from the gymnastics, the Olympics. I don't know if he and Weinstein and other dirtbags like that, I don't know if they videotaped things. I don't know if they were blackmailing people, because you have to have a lot of people's silence. I mean, people know things, people see things, and you have to have something on those people so that they don't turn you in, basically. So you give them a piece of the action and you videotape it, and there you go. They're never going to turn you in. And that's typically the way those people roll forever and ever. That's how it's always been. It's like, when the dirt bags all work together, they're all going to have dirt on each other, and they're all at risk of getting turned in by each other. But if they do, an eye for an eye. So if you're one of those dirt bags, you have to have ammo to basically protect yourself, right? I mean, that all makes sense. But yeah, so I used to really question if Epstein was doing a Brian Laundrie, but I think he got Epstein. So I think, I mean, I have fun with, I'm laughing because I have fun with the words. Like, doing a Brian Laundrie is escaping, and getting Epstein is getting unalived by a giant conspiracy. Because again, you'd have to have so many people's cooperation in the jail. They had like the videotapes not working, none of the surveillance cameras, they all quit working, they all had a blackout. Let's go to Idaho 4. Didn't they have a blackout? Didn't um their whole internet went dark on the night of the quadruple homicide in Moscow, Idaho? I mean, that's been back in the news, and that's just ridiculous. That whole case is so freaking ridiculous. I mean, it's been back in the news. It's kind of never gotten out of the news, but there's a lot of activity right now in that case. And, we forget these things. Like, we forget to go back to talking about that there was no access to the internet for what, maybe 6 hours that night from like 11:30 until 6 in the morning. Coincidence? And maybe it wasn't 6 hours. Trying to remember the channel that found that. Nerdy Addict was the guy who found that. He is a nerd and he does computer stuff, and he realized that the system went down, and he got a hold of the authorities and just said, hey, I found this and thought you might want to know. And yeah, I mean, good for him that he found that and that he shared it with the right people. So, I don't think Biden did anything to hurt our country. He was trying to unite it, and everyone criticized everything he said and did. FFS. I know what that means. I'm just not going to say it, or I'll say for F's sake. Okay. Little T can't even drink water normally. What? You mean like this? But yeah, I agree. I mean, Biden certainly wasn't perfect. He did a lot of good things for our country. And yeah, he had cancer, so let's crucify him, right? Sorry for the coughing. You can hear the sick person in the background. He's right outside the door. It sounds like, anyway. So yeah, the whole thing with Biden and the cancer, what a crap show. Yeah, he was getting old, and yeah, he should have taken a medical leave. I mean, think back. I don't believe that his cancer was diagnosed much earlier than when he announced it. Again, because he knows he's going to be criticized. So, for all we know, he found out that same day. But then again, for all we know, he found out a long time earlier. But I think that he knows people are going to find things out. He knows he's going to get criticized. So I think that he told the public that the public was made aware pretty quickly after he was made aware. That's my opinion. He was having a lot of medical issues for a long time, and had they done the 25th Amendment thing, which was one of the amendments that I had read before, but then I went through and read the whole thing yesterday. Had he been replaced by the vice president, then in this last presidency, it would have made an even stronger campaign for her to be basically reelected. But woulda, coulda, shoulda. It is what it is. Yeah, he's stuck with it for too long. It was hard on him physically, and it was hard on the country. And my thing with him, though, is that even at his weakest, even in his most confused state, he was still pretty sharp. He still had scruples and ethics and morals and values, in my opinion. He still knew his shit, basically. Whereas the guy that's in there now has no scruples, no ethics, no values. Well, he has values, money, sex, good looking people, that kind of thing. Giant airplanes, giant boats, giant other things, hashtag other things, to make up for the tiny mushroom Tootsie Roll. Okay. That's what somebody said about Diddy. And yeah, it makes sense that these people that aren't well endowed down there are going to be so vile and abusive because they're trying to compensate for their inadequacies. And I say it's not the size of the wand, it's the magic that's in it, but size does matter, right? Okay, poor Kylie. I was just thinking about her last night. I wonder what really happened to her. I know, dang it, Nancy. Always thinking about her and exactly that. Like, what really happened to her? Maybe that was her in the back of her car. Maybe that was her car. And maybe she's in a Handmaid's Tale underground tunnel system of the guy who started Facebook, or Sean Combs. I mean, you just don't know. You just don't know. I mean, same thing with Idaho 4. It's like, yeah, maybe they were all slaughtered by someone. I don't think it would have been possible for one person to slaughter them all unless they were like a military trained ninja, which we all know that there are a few of those around there. But with a 6'4" athletic 20-year-old guy and his girlfriend, which, guys get very protective of their girlfriends. And she was quite a force to be reckoned with too, Xana. She was strong and feisty and athletic and little. And the little ones, I'm telling you, they can be tougher than the big ones to manage. But you know that Maddie and Kaylee were feisty too. I mean, any of those four would be formidable opponents in a hand-to-hand Mortal Kombat situation. But then being outnumbered, like, no, one person is not going to go into a house of 6 people with like 6 cars parked out front. That's just not realistic. And then leave 2 people. Give me an effing break. Just all the lies, all the stories that have changed, all of it. And, I know that there's been a lot more information coming to light through the court system lately on that. And like with Kaylee, so confusing with Kylie Rodney and then Kaylee G. So Kaylee in the Idaho 4, that she was, trigger warning, she was physically damaged a lot more than the other 3 victims. The most recent court allegation is that her face was like unrecognizable, and that it wasn't necessarily a sharp edged object. Like, I don't know, maybe a golf club, maybe, I don't know. But gouges or something like that, again, trigger warning, like I said. And I think 26 wounds to the face. I mean, that's really personal. That's really personal. That's not just like some guy who is like internet stalking you. And I really think, from the evidence that we've all seen, that Kaylee and Maddie were being gang stalked that night. They were being gang stalked at the bar. They were being gang stalked at the grub truck. They were being gang stalked in transition, transporting themselves from one place to another, in my opinion. And then the whole thing about them quitting their sororities, which you just can't do. That's like trying to quit your cult. You just can't do it. It's just not a thing. The whole thing with the billionaire president of the school. It's just too many questions. Too many questions. Yeah. So Kylie, poor Kylie Rodney. I know. I mean, she had a rough life living in that beautiful lodge from the time she was about 7 or 8, and being so isolated like that, especially in the winters. And yeah, she developed her skills and her talents, and I'm sure music saved her. but it also could have really set her up to not have the sharpest social skills, to not be able to navigate with snakes like Scammy. Yeah. I hope someday we get answers to Annabes. Oh, Jez, I had a thought out of nowhere. What if Ethan and Xana were red rummed at the frat party and taken to the house later, and Kylie and Maddie walked in on them, putting them in the house? I've thought that for a couple of years, Annabes. That, I mean, not to steal your thunder or anything. Well, how come this is not working? Replace pinned message. That is one of the many theories that I've run through me brain that seems pretty viable. That Ethan was having a beef at the frat party with Loach, David Loach. For people that don't know that whole backstory, was somebody who allegedly was taking steroids and allegedly had a thing for Xana and allegedly got into a fist fight with Ethan. And we can't forget the freaking brain on the dumpster outside the frat. I mean, that, whether that was an animal brain or not, is irrelevant. Why would you put a brain on a dumpster? It's, to me, that's a sign. That was a flag that somebody put the brain on the dumpster as communicating the message of whatever that would be communicating. Something not nice, I'm sure. And yeah, it could be that the whole thing was staged at the house. And Kaylee and Maddie, they were given a ride from the grub truck to their house, and then they let the dog out, and then they tried to call and text Jack 10 times. And then there was that Ring doorbell recording that we've heard of, the dog barking and the yelling, and it sounds like maybe Ethan and Xana yelling. And that channel, Joseph Morris, who got like practically arrested for leaking it, and then also trashed like that he had made the tape himself and that it was phony. And at first I believed that. I was like, yeah, what a bad guy, what a bad actor. And then pretty quickly I thought, what if they're scapegoating him? And I think that's what it was. They were scapegoating him. I think that the information that he presented was true and accurate, and they just didn't want it out there. So yeah, what I'm saying is that it's pretty likely that Maddie and Kaylee were alive at the house, but there was that whole thing with Ethan and Xana that they were like missing. They were unaccounted for 5 hours, from like 9 o'clock at night roughly until about 2 a.m. And there was speculation, well, like maybe they went up to Pullman where Xana's sister Jasmine was going to school. Then the dad said, well, he had contact with them at about midnight. They were staying home having pizza. Xana's dad said that. And then when the PCC came out, when Koberger was first arrested, then it was stated that all of a sudden Bethany remembered that they were at the party the whole time. She was there too, right? Yeah. Let's see. So that was weird that there was the 5 hours unaccounted for Ethan and Xana. And that would make sense. That would fit right into your theory, Annabes. Let me drink some of my coffee again like a little rodent. Like the squirrel that I am. Let's see. I'm just trying to think of all the arrest warrant. That's not called a PCC. What is it called? The probable cause affidavit. PCA. Sorry. So the probable cause affidavit that was released right after they arrested Koberger, that thing that Brett Payne had written. So it was 6 weeks after it happened before that story was spun or told or whatever, that Bethany was like, oh, right, I was at the party and they were there the whole time. Those 5 hours are not unaccounted for. I'm accounting for them myself. Me, the witness who saw nothing. Yeah. So credible those little blonde hot chicks are, aren't they? I mean, the fallout, the aftermath of the whole thing, the last 2.5 years of them pretending to know nothing. Like, give me a effing break, and I'm having trouble not saying the whole word. Give me a flippin' break, you freaks. We know you know crap. Whether you were in the house or not, you know a lot more than what you're saying. So those two are being protected. There's such a crazy bigger picture going on there in Idaho 4. It's so insane. Dang, Jazz, drop the phone, walk away from Google. LOL. Someone flew a drone over Epstein Island and saw someone looking just like Epstein. Wait, what? When? Dang it, Nancy. And when was this? Like just now? Let's see. This is so weird the way it's given me trouble. I think little E was unalived in jail. Yes, internet was down in Moscow that night. Right. And so we don't know if it was down for 6 hours or half an hour. Honestly, we don't know if it was like routine maintenance or what it was. But the internet, went dark. So, but enough people have hotspots and things like that. And yeah, there used to be a lot of speculation that maybe Kopaka was the IT guy at the university there in Moscow, the University of Idaho, and I don't know if he was. I mean, anybody that knows how to do that could do that, and I do think it's more likely that somebody from the military might know how to do that. And Payne was from the military too, the lead detective, Brett Payne. I froze for a second. Everything gold plated. He's so tacky. um I agree that 5 hours unaccounted for is sus AF. Bethany and Dylan are liars. I'd say they're lying liars. So let's see what else. So all of this hilarious Trump taco stuff that I started with and that I put in the title, I might change that title. But some of it got taken down from TikTok because I think somebody has thin skin and got owie feelings. But man, it's hilarious the way he's so reactive about that. Like, not only because it's true that Trump always chickens out, but because it's a taco and it's from a no respect for. Me quiero Taco Bell. Remember that racist dog, that not cute little chihuahua that used to be the advertisement for Taco Bell until they were told that they were being racist or something? Me quiero Taco Bell. Um, oh, you guys heard about the Annabees? You heard about the medical report that was released by RFK Jr.'s squad with the fake medical research in it. So it's like citing medical research that doesn't exist. That fraudulent report from the Department of Health. Like, I heard an interview with an epidemiologist who is cited in that report who said she never did that research or wrote that paper that was cited. But who was it that said this? Good science that has never been recognized before. It was one of these little blonde whack jobs like Caroline Leavitt, Bondi, or Marjorie Taylor Greene. Good science that has never been recognized before. Actually, it might have been the brunette blondie. It might have been Christy Nome, the puppy killer. Good science that has never been recognized before. Well, if it's such good science, then why not recognize it before? And then when asked if the report was AI generated, whoever the little chickadee was that was talking, I can't remember now which one it was. They're all kind of the same in my brain. Said that they couldn't answer that question. So they were asked, were the reports AI generated? Was the report AI generated? And she responded, I can't answer that question. I'm thinking it was Leavitt or Bondi, probably Leavitt. And I'm thinking, well, there's your answer right there. If you can't answer the question, why wouldn't you be able to answer the question? Why would you be so defensive about it? You might just say, I'm not the person to ask that. But no, I think that she literally can't answer that question, because if she did, then everything would be burnt down. So let's see. I don't think I really explained why I think that the George Floyd thing was a premeditated setup. So the whole thing started with him going into the Cup Foods and the cashier calling the police and saying that he used a counterfeit $20 bill. And so that's why the police came, was because the cashier said that this man used a counterfeit $20 bill. So I didn't know until just a few days ago that that $20 bill was never taken into evidence. It was never documented, like photographed or anything like that. That literally tells me that it did not exist. I always wondered if maybe there was a counterfeit $20 bill, that maybe he didn't use it and maybe it got switched out and then they accused him of using it. But I don't think there was even one to switch it out, because if there was, they would have photographed it and they would have taken it into evidence, because you had a death connected to it. And when you have a death connected to anything, you collect all of the evidence that you can, especially whatever the F it was that initiated the 911 call to begin with. So I think that Chauvin had asked the cashier to let him know when Floyd went in there, because Floyd shopped there probably basically every day. And so the police came. I haven't looked at the whole video in a really long time. Like, there's a video surveillance that's kind of up by the front door that I want to say that Floyd and his friends were like sitting on the sidewalk, leaning up against the brick wall on the outside of the building after he came out, that they were just like slouching there. They were just hanging out. Like, yeah, they were high or drunk or whatever. I mean, that's kind of a weird thing to do. And then that's when the police arrived and Chauvin started interacting with Floyd and made him get up. And he was just like, hey man, leave me alone. Like, he didn't want to get up. He didn't want to interact with him. And it wasn't going well, to say the least. And then we all know the end result. So then they're trying to get him in the car. He's a huge man. He's like 6'4" at least, and very buff. And I don't know how big the other guys were, but Chauvin has got to be like half his size. I mean, he's just tiny. And they couldn't get him in the car. And yeah, he was resisting arrest, but if he didn't pass a fraudulent $20 bill, or let's just say that he did and he didn't know that it was fraudulent. I mean, like I said, I don't even think it exists, period. But, he's a little bit buzzed on his day off. Like, That's allowed, I think, in a free world. But I mean, public intoxication is not good, and yeah, sitting down on the sidewalks kind of bizarre. But anyway, they weren't arresting the other people that were with him, just him. And then before you knew it, there's the wrestling and the pinning with the knee on the neck. And it's really obvious. I mean, they've got him cuffed. If they were trying to cuff him to arrest him, they had him cuffed and they could have gone from there. It's really obvious to me. Not only what Chauvin was doing was intentional, but I want to say this, Anna Bees, if you've watched that videotape, and prepare yourself, trigger warning. I fully believe that Chauvin got off on the killing of Floyd like he was having a sexual experience. When you look at the look on his face and he has his hand in his pocket, like, dude, why are you having your hand in your pocket when you're trying to pin somebody down? Was he playing with himself? Because he looks like he is getting off on it, in my opinion. Full stop. Full effing stop. These guys worked together. They had not just one beef, they had multiple beefs together. Chauvin was extremely racist. Floyd was not having it. Floyd worked the inside of the club. Chauvin worked the outside of the club. He would basically sit in his cruiser off hours and get paid. So if you're bouncing somebody from the club, from the inside, you're going to have to bounce them to the outside. And then you might run into the security person on the outside, especially when you say, if this person tries to come back in, don't let them in. So not only did they try to say, well, they didn't know each other because, one worked outside and one worked inside. Okay, they both worked the Tuesday night dance competition thing. Was it called like El Ranchero Club? And it was a restaurant. They served food, and they had this very successful and popular dance competition every Tuesday night. I think it's called El Nuevo Ranchero Club, I think. So, like, why would the owner try to lie and say, well, they didn't know each other? It's like they both worked Tuesday nights. Chauvin worked there for 17 freaking years. 17 years. Floyd worked there for roughly a year. Nobody will say, because they're not going to say anything about anything. They're trying to say, no, they didn't know each other. No, they never ran into each other. No, they didn't work together. And then the other employees who were like, hey, yeah, they did work together and they knew each other and they did not like each other. They butted heads on everything all the time. Those people all had to retract their statements, just like Ivana retracting her statement about her estranged husband assaulting her in that most intimate way, violating her on a bed, overpowering her against her will. That's so disgusting. That's so freaking disgusting. And then she retracted her statement. She reversed her statement. She said, that's not what I meant. It's the same thing that these employees from El Nuevo Ranchero that said that not only did they know each other, they hated each other and they had conflicts constantly. So here you are working at a bar, at a club that gets rowdy, people are having dance fights. I mean, that's the best kind of fight to have, right? And you've got the inside bouncer supervisor not getting along with the outside bouncer supervisor. That's going to create conflict for coworkers as well. So the coworkers that were willing to discuss it on camera in interviews all retracted their statements. Like, oh no, I misunderstood. One of them literally said, I was mistaking George Floyd for some other guy. How I don't want to sound racist. I'm being sarcastic, but you know how all black people look alike, right? So he's like, oh, no, I was confusing George Floyd for the other tall black bouncer supervisor guy that Chauvin didn't get along with. Like, give me an effing break. These guys knew each other, they had a beef. My whole thought process here is also that so not only did you have the two other officers helping Chauvin pin him down, you had your one little Asian guy. He has a really weird name. I got to say it. It's like Chow Chow. You had him basically making sure that everybody backed off, right? Where's his name? I know I can find it. That's disgusting. I don't know if you can hear that phlegm ball out there. Sorry about that. Tao Tao. Tou is that Asian cop's first name. Thao is his last name. So Officer Tao is what they called him. And he was a jerk. He was really rude to people, and his job was to make sure that people stayed away so that they could do what they were doing. Like, that was a setup. That wasn't normal. I know what normal looks like with police having to get people to back away when they're making an arrest and people are videotaping. That's a common thing. And yeah, people are allowed to videotape, but people are not allowed to interfere with the arrest process. So if they get too close, they do have to back away. And if they don't, they'll get arrested. But that's not what was going on there that day. And then what really got me, and I had never noticed this before rewatching the tapes the last few days, is that the medics coming out of the ambulance when they arrive are not moving quickly. They're moving slowly. And they kind of eventually, one of them walks up to Floyd. It looks like he is looking for a pulse. He's not going to find a pulse, but then he's not rendering any aid. So no one rendered aid. Obviously, none of the police officers rendered aid, and they're probably all trained to know how and when. And then obviously the EMTs are there to render aid, and they're not rendering aid. But we know he couldn't have had a pulse at that point. And if he did have a pulse, they're still not checking to see if he's breathing. So they're not moving quickly. And then what was even creepier is the videotape footage that they used as an exhibit in the court from the news, where they put it on fast forward, that exact thing that I just described of the EMTs getting out of the ambulance, kind of taking his pulse, loading him onto the gurney, and they're showing all that at like quadruple speed for the court exhibit. That's effing crazy. And then for the court to not allow any of the information about the fact that they even were both receiving paychecks from the Nuevo Rancho Club, that none of that information got to be admitted into court, because a premeditated red rum is a much higher crime than an accidental red rum. Much more severe punishment. And if they knew each other, even though knowing each other doesn't prove that it was premeditated, it still could be an accident. But why are you denying that they even knew each other? Why are you denying, like, let's say that they both did work at the same place and that they didn't know each other and that they would have never seen each other. They wouldn't have known each other from Adam. Why not just say that, yeah, they both worked there? Why keep all of that information out? So if this was a bigger thing, this club had a history years prior of laundering money from the Mexican car that doesn't tell. And they had a history of producing Play-Doh or funny money, whatever you want to call it. They had a thing. So this club had a bad track record. But obviously, if you had a police officer employed by them for 17 years, so he was employed there when they were laundering, he was employed there when they were producing Play Doh. So there's a lot of information that they want to keep on the down low, that the city wants to keep on the down low, that the department wants to keep on the down low. Information that Mr. Floyd was probably well aware of. So my theory is that it wasn't only the police department that had this premeditated, but when they called the ambulance was not there to try to render life-saving aid. They were there to load him up and ship him out. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. I'll put the links again to the videos that I'm talking about. I have those 2 links in the descriptions of my last 2 videos. So the day before yesterday and the day before that. So both the video at regular speed of the EMTs and the one that they used for an exhibit in the court that's like at least double speed, if not quadruple speed or more. I don't know. It doesn't say, but it's obviously really sped up. But when you're watching it, it looks like the rate that EMTs would be operating at when they come to an emergency and they're trying to intervene with a bad situation. Let's see what you're saying here. Oh, sorry. There's so many comments. I didn't realize I was getting all caught up in what I was saying. LOL. That's funny. That is probably why he hates it so much. No, I haven't heard about it. We are screwed in our country. I remember the cashier felt very bad about what happened because of his call. Well, he might not have realized why Chauvin wanted him to let him know when Floyd came in. Like Chauvin probably just said, let me know when this guy comes in. I don't know. I don't know. I'm speculating. But if he wasn't aware of the motive, but he was used as a tool, and that's the thing about these psychos, is they don't care about anybody. Like that cashier could have unalived himself by now or at some point in the future because of his involvement in something that hideous. That not only was it hideous for Mr. Floyd, it was hideous for the whole country ongoing with all that was going on. I never thought of it, but I'm going to watch it again. Yeah, just trigger warning. Trigger warning. It was really hard for me to watch it again. It was worse than watching it back when it happened 5 years ago. Like I get teared up just talking about it. I probably cried the first couple of times I watched it last week. I was just like, holy crap, man. Like it is just bad. But what's even worse is how like immune to it we were at the time because of like the situation with Ahmaud Arbery and Breonna Taylor and Tamir Rice and Trayvon Martin and all the rest. I mean, those are just the ones that we hear about. We know that this has been going on forever, sadly. Okay. I didn't know about the club thing. I know, isn't that freaking nuts? Like, even up until like last week, I was like, well, I'm pretty sure that they worked at the club together. But then, I did more digging. And like I said, I found interviews with coworkers. And then the interviews were then reversed or redacted just the way like Ivana reversed and redacted or tried to. But she already had it in print, making that accusation towards El Presidente. Like he's a perp, man. We all know it. I know it. In my humble conspiracy theory opinion, allegedly, right? Gotta say it. Yes, the EMS acted weird. Exactly, Jazz. I said that from the beginning. See, because you're a medical person, and I had always been so caught up in the video. Like I was really taken with the firefighter that was off duty, that was out on her morning walk. What was her name? Genevieve. That was the one that that kind of drew my eye. And like for the last 5 years, I've always been really focused on Genevieve. I mean, she was a very positive influence at the scene of the crime. She did everything she possibly could. And then, like, when that little guy, Tao, whatever his name is, yeah, Tao, Tu Tao, when he said, because she was saying, I'm an off duty firefighter. And he said, are you really an off duty firefighter? And she's like, yes, I'm an off duty Minneapolis firefighter. And he says, then back away, then get up on the curb. Like he's like trying to threaten her. Like, are you really? And then when she confirms yes, then he's like, well, then back away. It's like, it was just weird. It was really weird. Like that guy was weird, just a jerk. I mean, what a disgusting person to be part of that. And again, maybe he didn't know that it was going to have a fatal outcome, but it's my in my conspiracy theory, they all knew that George Floyd needed to be silenced. That's my thing. That's what I'm believing at this point in time. Everyone told me they just wanted to get out of there because of all the people recording. But that's so normal. I mean, my husband's a police officer. He's been recorded many times. I mean, when you're making an arrest that's getting physical, that's getting violent, when somebody's resisting arrest, if there's people around these days, they will videotape. And they have every right to do that. And as a police officer, you should want them to videotape if you're not doing anything wrong. Because what if you get injured? Then you've got it on videotape. And it should be getting videotape from your body cam anyway. But sometimes there are not body cams, or sometimes they malfunction. I'm being facetious, because they always malfunction at the time that you're requesting to see. I mean, it not only the body cams, the dash cams, the surveillance cams. It was having a glitch in the system. Sorry, not sorry. So Chauvin was on the car that doesn't tells payroll. Yes, he was for 17 years, Annabees. And allegedly there was about $100,000 worth of income from them that he did not report. So it's my guess that that is spread out over the 17 years. I'm pretty sure it was 17 years that he was employed there. And I think 17 years that he was employed for the Minneapolis Police Department too. So he got both jobs around the same time. He had a military background. He had been a police officer for the military. And he also had a bachelor's degree, I think, in basically law, criminal law or something like that. And EMS did just load and ship. Good way to put it. Yeah, I mean, if you are looking for someone's pulse and you don't find a pulse, the first thing you're going to do is chest compressions. I mean, you know that because you work as a nurse. I know that because I worked as a lifeguard. So first thing you're going to do is chest compressions. Yes, Genevieve was a good person. I know. And she was so cute with her little headband and everything. I think she's like 26 years old, and she was like right on the money. Granny Annie Nanny is traveling again. Miss you, understand. See you in 2028. Oh, you're so sweet. I do understand. Totally. So yeah, let me look at my notes. Wow, we're 2 hours, 15 minutes. See, this was how much I missed making a video yesterday. It was killing me. I was like, I can make a video. My people will understand if I'm like slumped in my chair and not making sense. I was thinking I could just like lay on the couch and have the camera. Actually, I was thinking I could do it with like the little icon where it's just my voice. But then I was like, but all of my chakra tower things and my fun lights and my pyramids, and I haven't even talked about my jewelry. So I made Which earrings do I have on? I made this necklace yesterday. I'll show you the whole thing. I have it kind of tucked away because it's a little much. I might take this big part off at the bottom. I was going to put all small stuff here because it's such a large piece. But then I was like, look at that with the shirt. Perfect. I just went nuts with the jewelry. I don't have a lot of it handy because it's all over there. Let me grab it. It's some pretty wild stuff. It's some wild stuff and I love it. One sec. See, I'm such a jeweler. I even have like the little velvet pads to show it to you on. Oh, and Coco wants in now that I'm sitting down again. I'll just try to wrap up real quick. But so as I was trying to make myself stay still, I made that. I love it. Again, it's pretty intense. And I didn't make the triangle. The triangle is like a pyramid. If you can see, it's got a little bit of height on it. Let's see. You can kind of see. But it's like two-tone. See that? So I didn't make the triangle, but I put the rest of it all together. And it is wild and crazy. It's a really cool color, kind of yellow. And then this one, I was going to wear this one, but it wasn't as flashy as the one I have on. This is 3 pieces. So this one is also like a pyramid shape. And then this one is just like a, what do you call that when it's faceted? This one is faceted. And then there's a little tiny thing at the bottom that's also faceted. And it's like my favorite color, that kind of greenish blue. So there you can see how that one's a pyramid shape. I just went nuts yesterday with the jewelry. I was having so much fun. And I made a couple of earrings too, but I'll just leave it at that for now. Like I said, I have my little jewelry pads so I can show them. Then you can see them more better. And I should just like keep these jewelry pads by me at all times. And maybe I should start. I can't give these things away, I don't think, because I am just like completely in love with them. But maybe I should start doing some more jewelry giveaways, right? It makes it fun. It makes it lots of fun. But yeah, this one is really wild and crazy. It's like I said, a little much with this giant thing at the bottom, but I don't know. It kind of spoke to me. It's very much like a ISIS. Remember that show, Almighty ISIS? Very like Egyptian. Thank you. Very pretty necklace. I won some nice water bottle earrings on my birthday last year. Oh, that's so cool, Granny Annie, because honestly, I didn't remember that you got the Evian water bottle earrings. I remember it now that you say it. I knew that you won something. I didn't remember that it was your birthday. But yeah, that's so cool. Those are really cute. I didn't make those, of course. But man, they're awesome. Which ones do I have on? Oh, yeah, I didn't make these either. I was gonna take them apart, though, and redo them. They're pretty cool. I don't know if you can see. They're like little swirly, three-dimensional, like a thing inside of a thing inside of a thing. Yeah, you can kind of see if I put it with the black background. You can see it more better. And it's gold and silver. I like the metals mixed sometimes. And Annie, I won the Bobo Tea earrings. Oh, Anna Bees, I'm so excited that you got the Bobo Tea earrings. My daughter was really upset about that I put those up on the auction block for prizes. But I had another pair that I gave her for her birthday. I didn't tell her that when you won them, she was like devastated because she wanted them, but I had them already for her. Very cool pyramid. Love those earrings. Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, those are 2 of the coolest ones, the water bottles and the Bobo Tea ones. I love those. There were a lot of fun earrings that I got. And then I would have thought that I would have worn like the Bobo T ones, but I just have so much jewelry to compete with. It's hard for me to just like nail it down and make a decision with one necklace. Like I said, I had that other one on earlier, and then I was like, I'll just wear the big one and hide the part that makes it a little too much. But yeah, that one is um just I really like that color too. That kind of like a watermelon color. And again, it's like two-tone. It has like two plastics. Like the one in the middle is more golden, and then the watermelon color. Oh, I'm such a nut for the jewelry, and I'm just such a nut, period, right? I have a lot of little beaded necklaces from Cabo if you would like to repurpose them. Oh, Granny Annie, you're welcome to send them to me. If you don't have my address anymore, I can email it to you. But I would say that maybe give them to somebody else because I don't need any more projects than I already have. But I am just a sucker for jewelry. So if you want to send them to me, I will gladly receive them with gratitude. So I'll email you my address to make sure you still have it. We love our jewelry nut. Oh, you're so cute. Well, yeah, it's better than talking about politics. It's so freaking divisive. OMG, it's so divisive, right? I have address. Okay, we'll give to charity, some for each. Okay, cool. Yeah, whatever you want to do, girl. That is great. Yeah, sometimes I just like, you know, I have, if I counted how many necklaces, how many bracelets, how many earrings, pairs of earrings I have, I can't even count that high. But, and, I try to part with stuff, but then I'm like, nah, I just got to hoard it all. Yeah, too funny. Cause yeah, then my kids can inherit it, right? In the end. Did you hear about that? Politician when asked about reducing Medicare, Medicaid, and somebody said, people are dying. And her response, this is just like in the last day, her response was, well, we're all going to die. Let me see if I just Google that, if it says who it was, because that's just freaking crazy. Who was it who said that? It was this woman right here 5 hours ago. Ernst is her last name. She's from Iowa. Defending Medicaid cuts, Ernst tells Iowans, we all are going to die. Joni Ernst. What a whack job. Like, really? We are? I didn't know that. Me? Um, yeah, so this is just new today. OMG. Yep, it was just today. It was on Friday. Today's Friday. Senator Joni Ernst, Republican from Iowa, made an unforced error on Friday when she told a voter worried about Medicaid cuts, well, we all are going to die. So again, yeah, if we're going to die someday anyway, then who cares if it's forced now or later, or, if George Floyd had a tumor, which I don't buy it that he did, but even if he did, that has nothing to do with getting choked out by a cop. For even if he had a counterfeit $20 bill, to his knowledge or not to his knowledge, you don't put your knee on somebody's neck for 9.5 minutes for that. And everybody freaking knows that. Any child could tell you that. I mean, there were kids that witnessed that. I mean, everybody there is going to have PTSD forever, not to mention all of us as a nation. But the children that were there, they could be tormented throughout their lives thinking, I could have done something. I could have done more. I could have saved his life if I would have just made a scene or punched the cop in the nuts or something. I mean, little kids that were there that were just like going to the store to buy a candy bar with their uncle or something. Oh man. Um Anna B says, I have a lot of jewelry too. And Annie says, I am downsizing from 5 condos to 1 and love being solo again, but too many things for small place. I know downsizing is always good. Yeah, I've been trying to unload some stuff too, but not so much the jewelry because it's small. I can rationalize it's small stuff. It doesn't take up that much real estate. And I lost my 2-carat diamond wedding ring for 6 or so years. So it is now anchored on my left finger to keep flyaways. Wow. Yeah, that's nuts. That's great that you found it. You don't get the death penalty for a counterfeit 20. Right. And if you have a brain tumor that's going to take your life in 6 months, you still have 6 months to enjoy or to suffer or both. I mean, it's just such a sick comment that Becky made in my chat. When I was reviewing my video yesterday, I was very proud of myself for how I handled Becky and that I remembered that being a Becky was like being a Karen because I kind of forgot. Like being a Karen isn't something that I've forgotten, but I forgot that you could be a Becky too. Being a Karen is like when you're like, I want to talk to the management. Being a Becky is when you're just a white privileged entitled biatch. I Googled it, of course, because you know me, I Googled everything. But yeah, I also didn't know that knee on the neck is a jujitsu move called the blood choke. I did not know that. Um, let's see what else. And also very sad for George Floyd's 5 kids and for his girlfriend. And I would bet that they all got paid out many, many millions of dollars. I didn't look that up and I won't bother because I'm pretty sure that they did. I'll probably look it up later, but I don't want to keep picking up my phone because you know how that gets me. Okay, so I haven't talked about this, and I'll talk about it for a minute. Barron Trump never applied to Harvard, for anybody who was wondering. But I did mention this in my last video that Derek Chauvin had been involved in 3 police shootings. One of them was fatal. And I think his police officer career, he was a military police officer, or he was in the military from 96 to 04. And then he was a police officer from 01 to 20. So 19 years. So in the 19 years, he was involved in 3 police shootings, which really, like most police officers can go their entire careers without firing their weapon. I mean, it's rare that they even have to pull it out of the holster. And when they do pull it out of the holster, even just pulling it out of the holster, not firing it brings an investigation and at least a 3-day administrative leave, because you can't just brandish your weapon, like pulling your gun out of the holster because somebody had a counterfeit 20 or something. And I had mentioned about the 18 complaints that Chauvin had against him in his career. And then in 08, oh, this was interesting. So, because it was the 24th of May in 08, Derek Chauvin shot a 21-year-old in the guy's home. His mother had called 911. So interesting because Derek, I'm sorry, not Derek, the other guy, Derek Chauvin is the cop. My brain's starting to fry. George Floyd happened on May 25th of 2020. So it was like a day after the 12-year anniversary of Chauvin shooting a 21-year-old in his own home. And I don't know if that is the fatal shooting or not. I tried to find out. I'll do some more research because you know me, I always want to find out. But when I first saw the date that it was May 24th, 08, that he had shot this 21-year-old, I thought, was he having like a PTSD thing on the anniversary, or was he having like a celebration, like he wanted to do that again? I don't know. It's very weird to have the two, the shooting and the unaliving, to be almost the same day, one day apart. That is weird. That is unlikely to be just random. So I don't know. But the thing about Barron Trump never applying to Harvard. So there's been a lot of theories that maybe the Trumpster fire hates Harvard because Barron didn't get in. Barron might not have applied, but he was rejected. His dad tried to get him into Harvard, and I don't know when, but he was told, Trumpster Fire was told, that Barron is not Harvard material. So that might explain some of the hatred. You know, he's really got it out for Harvard. He's really got it out for Columbia. I know that Trump's older sister, who was a federal judge, she got her law degree from Columbia. But I'm thinking Columbia might have rejected a Trump as well. You know, it definitely seems like, pardon my French, it definitely seems like he has a hard on for Harvard and a hard on for Columbia. And you know how the man is. Sorry if you're still here, Granny Annie. He's always got a vendetta. He's always got an axe to grind. He not only thoroughly lives for revenge and retribution, he even said that that's what his presidency was going to be all about, revenge. Like, who the F says that? And how is he still in that position when you're admitting that you're that spiteful and a power tripper? Like, that's not safe. That is not safe at all. And yeah. So one last thing I want to talk about real quick before wrapping up is how over the weekend he was saying that, you know, Vladimir and him, they were always like so good together, and now Vladdy's gone bad and he doesn't know why Vladdy wants to keep killing people. But I am like, Vladdy, stop killing people. And Vladdy's like, no, I'm gonna keep killing people. And so Trump's like, I don't like it at all. Okay, I don't like it. Okay, next question. That whole thing was ridiculous. Like, okay, no, Putin's always been bad. He's always been the worst of the worst. He's always been the king assassin, basically. And now Trump's trying to pretend that he just all of a sudden turned bad, and Trump's surprised and shocked. No, Donnie knew this all along. Anybody who knows Vladdy knows this. Donnie liked that about him. That like excited him that Vladdy was such a bad guy, in my opinion. So I just wanted to make mention of that whole scene that Trumpster Fire made on the tarmac with the reporter asking him questions about that, and him trying to pretend that, you know, Vladdy was so good and he's so shocked and surprised at how bad Vladdy's gotten. Bad, Vladdy, bad. And yeah, Vladdy laughs in his face. Vladdy thinks he's a freaking fool. I think that Vladdy might be right, but you know, I don't like to agree with Vladdy on anything because he is a really sick man. So he, yeah. I hadn't even mentioned the whole thing about the tariffs. So let's talk about the tariffs real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. The tariffs. So they all got deemed completely illegal. Yesterday, Donnie said he'll pay anybody back that paid tariffs in the event that the case is upheld the way it is. So, of course, him and his lawyers are appealing it. I want to say, of course, it'll be upheld, but I don't want to jinx it either. But all of that for naught. All of that drama. I mean, the whole thing is just like a reality TV show for this man. He just wants our attention. Like every single morning he wakes up like, what can I do to get everybody's attention today? What can I do to make sure that I steal all the headlines all across social media, all across TikTok, all across YouTube, all of them? I need everybody's attention. I think that's what motivates him more than anything. And he's got some major health issues going on, and for him to keep saying that he's like the healthiest thing alive and that all these doctors keep saying he's the healthiest thing alive, well, why do they keep prescribing you medication for things like high blood pressure if you're the healthiest thing alive? I mean, you wouldn't be needing a prescription for anything if you're the healthiest thing alive. And maybe talking about prescriptions, maybe we should talk about Elon's rug addiction too. So we all know that he's stealing Steve Miller's wife, and we all know that he's like half human, half android. When he got up on the stage with the Trumpster fire the first time during the campaigning, and he did his X jump where he jumped up with both hands and he showed off his belly button. As soon as he did that, I thought, this man is high. Like, who does that other than like a 5-year-old? Who does that? And I didn't think that it was like a bipolar mania. I thought it was drugs, like immediately. I thought this dude is high. You would not get up on a stage and do that unless you're freaking crazy. So on that, we'll wrap up. So thanks for being here, you guys. 5 for 5. Look at that. Love and light. Have a really good weekend. Hopefully I'll be able to make videos over the weekend. We'll see how it goes. I hope you have a great rest of your day or evening now. It's 5:37 on the 30th of May, so we're almost at June. And you know what I always like to remind myself and everybody else of? We need to drink our water. We need to eat our vegetables, and we need to eat our protein. But most of all, most importantly, we just need to be. Just don't sweat any of it. Just be. You do you, boo. Jack Black does. LOL. Oh, I love Jack Black. I do. Don't get me started on Jack Black. You know that both of his parents are rocket scientists, right? His mom worked on the Hubble Space Telescope. I don't know if his father worked on Hubble, but Jack Black is like rocket science, wicked smart. I love him. I think he's cute too. Okay. All right. Love and light. See you on the next one. And yeah, my cursor doesn't work, so I got to use my finger on the screen. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. You're the best. And I do know that, of course, you do, Anna Bees. All right. See you soon.